Peace. Wagwan. Happy Monday, y'all. Peace, peace. Gather on in, gather on in. It is Monday. And how was your weekend? I hope your weekend was good. We here in Canada, in Toronto anyway, we are finally getting some warmer weather. So we are wearing shorts and t-shirts. What's it like for you guys out there? I hope it is good. I hope you guys are warm. We're about to start this show, and we're about to do it off right. This is going to be the part 2 of what we went over last time about just like letting the light in, letting the spirit body, the light body, the moving light body, the spirit light body, whatever you want to call it, the Merkaba. We are going over that and basically explaining if we can affect the light body and if the light body can affect us, if what we eat or think plays a part at all in the health of our light bodies, or is our light bodies just, is there no such thing as a healthy light body or not? So we're going to get into this. Welcome, and I'm just going to let this music play out a little bit while I gather up the windows. So if you are listening at work, just chill out and vibe out. We'll be up in like less than a minute. Wagwan, what up? Here we are, it's Monday. It seems like I can never, I can't escape the business. I'm always, well, not that I want to, but geez, always something happening, One case, just sending out a message to an employee. Okay. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for your patience. All right, y'all. I am definitely going to be interrupted one more time. That's for sure. So be prepared for that. So it's Monday. I hope you guys are good. Jay Chosen, Grand Rising, Grand Rising. It's tough to catch people on a Monday morning, and I realize that, but I ain't gonna I'm not gonna let that get me down. We just gotta keep rocking through it. And as I'm loading up these windows here, I'm just reminding myself about what I will be speaking on. about what I will be speaking on, and let me just load everything up. Alright, so the light body. If you guys can see here, I will change the screen back. If you guys can see, let me change the source. Here we go. Alright, we got the toroidal fields in view. Alright, we got basically our aura. This is our aura, this is our soul. This is what keeps us coming back with the same experiences, the same type of characteristics, the same types of energies, the fears, our hopes, our joys, our passions. A lot of times a child will be able to play Mozart, without being formally trained, just can hear it by ear. And what that's happening is, we got to understand is that we have a flow, right? This life that we live, even though it seems like the life begins and ends and begins and ends, we actually have a consistent direction of our life. And that consistent direction is broken up by different lifetimes. But the more you practice a thing, or the deeper you get into a feeling, it determines how we're going to come back into this life. So, if we look at this right here, this toroidal field around our being that is centralized in the heart, like we said last time, we're picking up where we left off, and you have that aura that expands beyond you. Remember, I just put out that video about how souls have a body, bodies don't have souls. The soul is a vessel for our bodies, not the other way around. A lot of people say our body is just a vessel for our soul, and so you got to take care of your body. No, you got to take care of your spirit, your soul, your mental, so that your body can then follow. A lot of people have healed illnesses, healed themselves out of remarkable plane crashes and helicopter crashes and ski accidents using the power of their mind. So here we have what we would call the astral body, the aura field, our higher selves. These, as I showed you, have anchor points in this Merkaba. This Merkaba is known as our spirit light body, our moving light body, and this is what is actually moving us through this experience of ours, we can call it an experience of ours. And it's not wanting to load, so I will just zoom in. So, and then we talked about how these orbs, these spheres on the corner of each pyramid, see, we have an upward moving pyramid and a downward moving pyramid, and it's spinning to create our Merkaba, our field. And these spheres on the sides, these are anchoring us into our characteristics, anchoring us into certain experiences that we keep on coming back for. We keep on coming back to experience these conditions, and we can't really escape it. The further that we dive into it, the deeper we go into that, the more solidified those spheres will become. Okay? So when we see the energy lines flowing through the spheres, which makes the pyramid, those are the more immediate things, like your anger and how you're feeling, and this dictates the color of your auric presence, of your aura field. But what they're connected to are these spheres, and these spheres are obviously in a sacred geometrical layout. And what happens is they solidify, but they're still malleable, but they solidify over time and they get harder, they get more rigid. And the more rigid it gets, the more of those experiences you're going to come back to your face. You know what I mean? It's almost like, traveling a certain route. And somebody always sees you on that route. They can expect how you walk. They get to know how you talk, what your style of dress is. But if you suddenly start changing up and you start changing your path, then that person's not going to see you anymore. He won't know what to expect, doesn't know what happened to you, doesn't know where you went. And you're going to be traveling a different path to work or school. And that new path is going to be solidified, and the beaten path is what they call it. The grass will stop growing where you keep on walking. And you can follow other people's paths by seeing that this trail of grass has been beaten down. So that's kind of like these spheres at the ends of our Merkaba pyramids. They keep on getting sunken in and beaten down. And that's why elder people are less willing to try new things. And that's why their light dims. You see, our light dims when we say, oh, you're a bright person, or you're intelligent, you're bright. That also has to do with what you've experienced. What do you expose yourself to? Do you read? Do you listen to multiple genres of music? Do you read multiple genres of books? Do you take in movies and documentaries? Do you meditate? Do you go out to the park? Are you willing to say yes to a new experience? Okay? Are you willing to say yes to a new experience? And that is what keeps you young. Did you know that when you experience new things, you start to reverse age? And that's because when you're a youngster, a child, everything is new to you, right? Everything is new, everything is fun. You don't know what to expect. You don't judge. You don't have any judgments on anybody or anything. And you're willing to try a lot of different things. But when you get older, and when you start solidifying your daily routines and habits, you stop getting exposed to the light, right? You stop uncovering veils and letting the light in. And that's what our stream about is today, letting the light in. And that's why, you can have a 60-year-old person, 70, 80 years old, and you say, here, try a smoothie, or try this, it's moringa or elderberry, or, you try to get them on a bitter tea, and they say no. I remember my aunt actually said, I said to my auntie once, hey, do you want to try this juice? I just made it. She's like, oh, what's in it? I'm like, berries, melons, I started naming off all these fruits and vegetables, and she's like, ew, no, I don't like healthy things. She literally said that to me. Ew, no, I don't like healthy things. And I'm just looking at her like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, you are, it's one thing to taste something healthy and then go away from it, and say, oh, that just wasn't my thing, I didn't like the taste. But it's another thing to have something that you've never tried before and say, ew, I don't like healthy things. And that happens as we grow older. And so the older we get, the more rigid we get, the more solid we get, the less the light shines through. Okay? The less that the light shines through, the less that your cells are able to receive higher light code frequencies. And the less they're able to do that, the quicker you die. And the more set in stone, so to speak, like your pineal gland being calcified, the more set in stone, sun up, sunset, the light is going down, set in stone, stone is dense. Dense doesn't let the light in as much as non-dense things. You see where I'm going? It all ties in together. And the less your the less light your cells receive from the higher states of consciousness, the sun, etc., suggestions from other people, affirmations from other people, the less you're willing to grow. And the less you're willing to grow, the more set in stone you become. It's a double-edged sword. It's a yin and a yang. It's a merry-go-round. It just keeps on going round and round in a downward spiral if you're of that mindset. Now, if you're willing to try new things up until you're 60, 70 years old, try new things, see new things, explore new places, then the more the light will shine in, and the younger you'll say, hold on, it's 2008. The more you try new things, the more you say, that was fun. Oh, wow, I didn't know that could be so fun. Oh, I went skydiving. That was amazing. I went camping. I bought a tent, and it was a crazy experience. These types of things open your cells up. They open your mind. Mind expanding. Open your mind. Mind expanding drugs. If you're an elder person, hell, even if you're in your 20s or 30s, and people that have tried LSD or mushrooms or DMT, and you haven't yet, they say, hey man, open your mind. Be open-minded about it. Expand your mind. Now, what happens when you expand something? You're letting more space in. And the more space you create, because you can create a space within you, which sounds, it's not like your head is physically getting bigger, but what happens is that your brain gets more complex. And the more you expand, the more space you create, the more the more light can shine in. So the more you educate yourself, the more chances you take, the more things you experience, the more games you play that are new to you, the more in the moment you are, and being open-minded and saying yes to more things. This is how you let the light in. This is how you stay younger longer. This is how you become more light-hearted. Remember, in part one, if you haven't watched part one, you're going to need to watch part one. In part one, we talked about how emotions carry weight, and these beams of light here that are traveling through the Merkaba, these straight lines that are going from anchor point to anchor point, these carry a weight resonance, and you can be heavy-hearted or light-hearted. Okay? You can be a shady person, a dim-witted, shady person, or you can be bright, intelligent, bright, brilliant, like a brilliant light. Now let's just say that we are eating things, because remember in part one we talked about how your colon, where all the digestion happens and the absorption of the nutrients and the minerals that your body utilizes, the more shade you're creating. Okay, so I'll type in a backed up colon, and I'm sorry about this. This is, it might be gross, but we gotta be mature about this. If you are constipated, if you're full of shit, then you will be less intelligent. And it all goes together. When you're talking in a group of people and someone's talking bullshit, they don't know what they're talking about, you say, yeah, you're full of shit. Because you're not being intelligent. You're not being bright. You're not showing me that you are bright-minded. And the gut is the first mind. The gut, that's your first mind. That's what you think with. When something scary happens, you get a gut feeling. Your stomach drops. Okay? Now look at this impacted colon, okay? There's a bunch of feces in here. And now when your colon is nice and clean, guess what happens? The light is able to penetrate. But when your colon is compacted full of garbage, let me just switch over the screen. When the colon is compacted full of garbage, you start to be full of shit. Okay? You start to be dim-witted. Jay from the chat says facts. Like the opposite of a bright person would be a dim-witted person. Exactly. Also, like I said, a lot of people say having kids and pets later in life keeps you young, but by the constantly having to do new things and teach things. That's right. Yeah. No, it's all good. You can piggyback. That's exactly what I'm talking about. So you guys can get it. I'm expressing my thoughts to you clearly. So I'm happy about that. Now, look at the. I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have to show this to you guys. This is a. This is a colon. Okay, this is a deeply impacted colon. This means that there's about 5 to 10 pounds when this person died of shit. And the caption said colon that killed its owner. When we pass away and they're working on us, and maybe you donate your organs to science or whatever, a lot of the times they will throw out your colon. It's too far gone. This doesn't even look like a colon anymore that has nice bumpy ridges, that's nice and pink. This looks fried. This looks deep fried. This looks roasted. This looks like a roasted ham. You know when you have the roast on the spit and you're turning it and it's turning and it's dripping and it looks like a rotisserie chicken. But how is that possible if this was inside of us? Now, a lot of times people think that we are full of water. Okay? It's true that the body is over 70% water. That's facts. My bad. It's true that we're over 75% water, but however, we are ethereal, aerial beings, which means we are breatharian based. Okay, that is our most purest form. When you start fasting, that's when all the diseases go away. When you start fasting, your colon starts moving, and when you're fasting from food, guess what? You're still shitting for the next couple days. You're still taking shits. You're still moving shit out of you that is keeping you dim. And you are fasting and moving in towards the light. Guys, fasting is the quickest way to health and recovery. Water fasting, okay? Structured water and fasting. If you want to do like a celery fast, that's pretty cool because you can keep the electrolytes and stay energized. But the quickest way to healing diseases that seem unhealable is fasting. And what we are doing is, like I said, it seems like we're full of water, but we're not. We're really full of air. So when we're eating the fried foods and the processed foods and the damaged foods, guess what? It is cooking us. We are being cooked from the inside out. We are rusting from the inside out. Look at that, y'all. Does that look like like a healthy colon, or does that look like a rotisserie chicken? Let me pull up a picture of rotisserie chicken, and bet it looks like what I just showed you. Bet. How much money you want to bet on it? Okay, here we go. Rotisserie chicken. Pulling it up. Now look at what we're seeing here. The browns and the dark browns and the fleshy tones. Oh, this is too perfect. This is too perfect. Oh, I shouldn't have clicked on it. I should have just zoomed in on it. Now let's zoom in on this piece of chicken here. This once living bird. And now let's go to this backed up colon. Okay, see all these birds here? Look at the shininess. Look at the glare. And now look at the backed up colon. Look at that. It looks like it's been glazed with honey or some shit. It looks like if you took a bite of that, there'd be like mad flesh and like, tendons and juices dripping out of there like a Spitfire rotisserie. Now let's come back to the rotisserie chicken here. Doesn't it look the exact same? Guys, we are consistently cooking ourselves from the inside out because we know not what we do. We don't think that it's possible to cook ourselves, to rust ourselves to death, to eat ourselves to death. And if this is what a backed up colon looks like, then we are literally eating ourselves to death. Okay? I'll digress on the whole chicken thing. That's disgusting. It's just gross. Now, any other colon should be healthy and pink. And when your colon and when your cells and your skin is clear, you know, a lot of people got acne in their skin, which is pus and shit from worms and bacteria. That's what zits are. That's why they stink so bad. If you didn't know that pimples stink, they do. It's rotting pus inside of you. And it's creating a shade, y'all. It's creating, I mean, I hope you guys understand that our colons, it's like it should be, let me get an example here for you guys. Okay, this, what I have here, if you really know what you're talking about, you can make an example out of anything at any time. This right here is a piece of plastic, okay? This lets light through. Now, it doesn't breathe. What would be happening here, since it can expand and contract, what would happen here is if you can imagine this with a bunch of holes in it. And those holes allow it to stretch and bend and contort and everything like that. But I got a piece of plastic that is letting the light through. You guys can see that. I'm holding the plastic in front of the light. It doesn't make a difference on my face. You can see how it's bright, and even if I hold the plastic up, it's still bright, okay? So this is supposed to be like your skin. This is supposed to be like your organs here, okay, people? Your colon. Now, I can put my hand and I can put other things into this plastic bag, okay? We're going to imagine that this opaque paper towel, which just happens to be brown, we're going to ball it up, we're going to chew it up, and we're going to put it in the bag, and we're going to swallow it. We're going to swallow it. That's going down our mouth, into our colon, and it's supposed to come out the other side, alright? You guys are going to see how this all ties in to the lecture point. We eat another meal. It's been processed. It's been deep fried. It's been cooked to shit. There's nothing. It's meat. It's dairy. We're going to eat that, and it's supposed to come out. But guess what? We're backed up. We're not eating enough magnesium. We're not doing enough fasting. We're not drinking enough structured water. So we eat another meal. This is roast beef with potatoes and fried dumplings or something. Now look at our colon. Okay? This is now our colon. And because there's so much undigested animal proteins, fried oils, foods, processed foods, salt-rich foods, what's going to happen is it's going to introduce mucus, okay? I'm just grabbing things off the desk. Here's some mucus. The mucus is put there so that it can help slide through. The mucus creates a membrane between your colon wall, the clear plastic, and the shit that's putrefying and rotting. Because if the putrefaction and the rotting touches your colon wall for too long, it's like a bad apple. And a bad apple will spoil the bunch just by being next to it. It'll spread. The next apple to go rotten is the one that's touching that rotten apple. So here's more mucus that gets created. We're going to throw that in the bag. And now, the colon that we once held up to the light, and it didn't affect the brightness, it just shined right through. Now that it's impacted, now that it's constipated and full of shit, look what happens when I hold it up to the light. Look how dark I am. Look how much shadow there is. But once you fast and you remove the toxins, you remove the mucus, you remove the parasites, you remove the fried foods, you remove the animal protein and the dairy, and you remove more mucus, and you have a nice, healthy colon again. You hold that up to the light and look, y'all, nothing. Brightness. We need the light to shine through. So that was just a physical example of what I'm talking about. I was thinking about like all week, like how am I gonna illustrate that to you guys? So that's what we mean when we say you're full of shit. Now, why does that matter? Why does that matter? Why does having a shady inside, even though we talked about like how that's how you can become a shady individual. That's how you're a dark person. How does that affect us? How does it affect our light bodies? How does it affect our next life? Well, everything is vibration, okay? Everything is vibration. And if you're a drummer or a musician or interested in music at all, you know that for the kick drum, the boom, 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 the kick drum that the drummer's actually kicking, they will fill that full of clothing or cloth or material. The reason why they fill that hollow drum so it won't sound too tinny and reverberate like it won't sound too metally, okay? It's a deeper resonance. It's a boom, boom instead of now. In the case of the drum, they want that deep, dark, heavy drum. But for the case of us, our living, our health, our being, we don't want to be dark and heavy and weighed down. We want to be lighter than that, right? So let's stop and think about what that does to our light bodies here. To our light bodies right here. If we are emanating light, right? And a person says, "Oh, you're a bright person. You walked into the room and you lit up the room." You didn't literally light up the room. You didn't make it brighter, but your light, your brightness, your intelligence, your brilliance was lighting up the room, so to speak. And it was infecting others. Why? Because your aura field was now filling up the room. It's so much bigger than other people's that are dim that you are bringing them up. You're raising up their frequency. When you have that ability, that means that you are shining bright. You're a shining star. Like Earth, Wind, and Fire said. You're a shining star. No matter who you are. And if you are compacting your colon, if you're filling yourself with negative thoughts, negative music, negative news, then you are dimming your own light. And you are becoming dim, dark. Children cry when you're around. Dogs bark when you come close. Elder people don't trust you. Okay? And so on and so on. We have to realize that the more, it's like a cycle, like I said, the more intelligent, the more bright, the more new experiences we have, the more space we create inside of us. And the more space that we create, the more the light can flow through our light bodies. And remember, we're just vibration. Everything is vibration. Our cells, our atoms have more space in it than physical matter. And yes, atoms are it's just a model. We're not actually a bunch of particles. We're a wave. We're a frequency. But if you imagine that frequency as hollow, but still a high-pitched frequency going up and down, boom, 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 as opposed to someone that's low frequency, boom, 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 boom. Then the higher that frequency is, the tighter, the more solid that frequency looks. But the more solid that frequency looks, the brighter it shines on the screen. Okay? It's kind of like you have to do a reverse You kind of have to do a reverse take on it. Because you could say, well, the lower your frequency, the more space there is between the hertz, meaning the more the light can shine in. No, that's not talking about, we can't use that example when we're talking about frequency. We have to flip it, okay? So frequency on a monitor. Let's just type in frequency monitor. We should be able to see some sort of a chart or graph. Perfect. Now, say you're in a dark room, right? Like when you light up the room, you walked into the room and you lit up the room. Say you're in a dark room, you're in a hospital room, and the lights are out, okay? When you see this frequency here, look at the frequency here on this frequency monitor. Having that on the screen brightens up the room because now there's more of a light being emanated. But when you look at something like this here, you're gonna have to look at the screen. Basically, what I'm showing is a heart monitor in a hospital. If you can't look at the screen, I'm basically showing a heart monitor on like in a hospital basically. And you know how it goes beep, beep, and it has that line, and then every heartbeat it goes beep, beep. Well, if you were to imagine the room was dark, every time it beeps, the room would get a little bit brighter on that pulse because it's emitting more light. There's more light being emitted on that frequency. But if you were to go in the room and it's a flat line, beep, then you would have only one thin yellow or green line. And it wouldn't really be emitting a lot of a frequency to light up the room. Okay? But if you go to something like this and you see a monitor like this now that I'm showing you on the screen, where it's like up and down, beep, 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 that light that's emitted off of the screen is going to brighten up the room. Okay? Which means you are high frequency. You are letting the light shine. And when the light is shining, you're letting the light in. You see that? I don't want to spend too long on that because it's pretty basic, but coming back to the Merkaba, the spiritual, the moving light body, the spirit light body, when these anchor points are of a high frequency emitting a lot of light, it is actually, you're becoming light-hearted. Light frequency, light code frequencies are higher, you're bright, you're brilliant, and it is making these lines that are connecting these spheres of the pyramid, it is making those lines more lighter, influential, brighter. When you talk to people and they're trapped in your field and they're getting intersected with these lines of frequency, guess what? They're now inspired and moved and intrigued. And inspire has the root spear in it, spirit. And the inspiration, inspiration. You're now a high frequency spirit, and you're raising people's spirits. Oh, you know, we're in high spirits today. Oh, your spirit's cheery today. You know what I mean? We say these things without even knowing why we say them or what it means. But the more light that is emanating from you, the less dense you are. Remember, if you're full of shit, if your colon is backed up, like this, it's impacted, it's shady, you're a shady individual, what's that going to do to your light body? It's going to make it dim. So can you, and the way that you live now, affect your spiritual signature, your soul signature? Yes, absolutely, without a doubt. It goes hand in hand. I have a video you should check out on my channel. It's called "You're Trying to Be Spiritual, but Your Spirit's Trying to Be Physical." So many times people are trying to be so spiritual. They're trying to do so much to get away from this physical life. that they actually are becoming more dim and less attached. They're becoming more detached. You know what I mean? You know those people that that seem like they just hate life, that just wish that like in a snap of the finger, if they could be a spiritual being, like a ghost, they would. Like they just want to astral project everywhere, and they just wish that they could be in Fiji and meditating with the monks, and they would just totally leave this fast-paced life and whatever. It's like, first of all, you can do what you want to do. Like if you really want to do that, save up for a plane ticket and get the fuck out there. Like go. You know what I mean? Nobody's begging you to stay here. You know, it's like, what is begging you to stay here? What is calling you here? Hold on, y'all. I gotta get out later. All right, I'm back. Like, what is keeping you here? If you want to go out there and you want to experience the world and be spiritual and like less dense and all that stuff, nobody's stopping you from doing it. But it's almost an undermining of your soul, right? Your soul and spirit came here to experience this this material life, this third density. And it came to struggle. It came to work out its karma. It came to create dharma. It came to feed. Your body's a feedback mechanism for your soul. You see here how we said that souls have bodies? Well, they're in constant communication with each other, right? We are light beings. We seem physical to each other, but on a soul level, like if you were to be your soul after you die, and now you're in that astral realm, and you're traveling, and you're seeing what you want to do next, your next agreement or contract to come into this physical plane. When you're on those higher dimensions, it's physical too. It's physical there. Like if you say you're in a room right here with somebody else, and you guys dap each other, you guys can do a little fist bump, and you sit back down in your chair and you're tapping and banging on the table. Let's just say that when you and that other person, you die, let's just say, and now you both meet each other on the higher planes, the astral planes and the mental plane. You're still going to be able to tap on that astral plane table and that mental plane table. You're still going to be able to give each other props on that level, and your fists or whatever it is up there will still bump. But an astral being, aka like a ghost or a spirit, when it sees you, you would walk right through it. You're not on the same frequency. When we're tuned into 89.5, we're physically listening to, it's rattling our car, the bass is boom, 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 it's rattling our mirrors, but all the other channels still exist. 92.5, 105.5. They all still exist, but you're not tuned into it. You're not living and breathing it, so you're not going to feel it. It's passing right through your car. It's passing right through your body. You're driving right through it. You're listening to a station and you're rocking out, and all of these other frequencies are passing through you, but you'll rear end a car. You'll bump into a car. You'll smash into the back of someone's car. And that's a physical crash, while these radio stations are passing through your car and the other person's car, and the ground, and the clouds, and the bricks. So people will say like, yo, like, oh, I can't wait to like be like my spirit body, my soul body, and I want to astral project so I can go here and here and like just float through walls and stuff. But on that plane, when you're meeting with other people and dealing with matters that are important on those planes, it's gonna seem physical. Okay? So, but what we do in this life and what we experience and what we take away from this life is going to affect our density and our decision making in the next realm, in the next world, in the next physicality, in the next ethereal plane. And if there is things that we still need to come back and figure out and work out, then we got to do that. We got to come back again and again. So instead of like wanting to leave this plane or wanting to be a less dense form of being, why don't you instead work harder to make this life everything you can, so that when you are in that state, then you can have that a much more conducive experience to what you want. And you know, I would say in the past life I was a plant-based eater. I was like a vegan because it was so easy for me to convert in this life. It just like, it made so much sense. You know, there's people that need convincing. There's people that will never stop eating animals or drinking their breast milk. And it's like, damn, like, why can't you see that this is hurting you? It's bad for us. It's hurting the animals. It's bad for the environment, for the water and the soil, agriculture. And it makes sense to you, but maybe not that other person. But the reason that is because in your past life, you've achieved this state or higher before, right? And now you're born again, and now you're reclaiming parts of you that you had. Oh, you know, you're into, maybe you're a musician, so now you're producing beats in this life. You're producing electronic music. You didn't used to eat animals in the last life, and so this life, when you were 20, you chose to go vegetarian. And maybe you were abused in the last life, so this life you're treating people extra well. Or like you're an abuse counselor. We're taking these, and that is why I'm showing you here with the Merkaba, these anchor points. Those are those anchor points that I'm talking about, that shape you in this life. And that it's like you can't get away from it. You can try to change within the realm of what your groundwork is, but you can never be completely outside of yourself or outside of that first instinctual reactionary being that you are. You know, you're drawn to books. Maybe last life you were drawn to non-fictions. Maybe this life you're attracted to books that are comic books. Maybe like you were a musician last life, like a classical musician, and this life maybe you're not a classical musician, but you listen to the radio and you listen to like classical FM. You listen to classical radio. So these are the way that we are actually affecting our light bodies. And what health looks like on this physical level that we're experiencing, it looks like, you know, you're sick and decaying and eroding. But I wonder, what does that look like on a spiritual level? What does sickness look like in spiritual levels? Because as above, so below. As below, so above. And that's they don't tell you that. They only tell you that as above, so below. But there's also the full statement is as above, so below, as below, so above. Meaning what happens up there, what happens, and it's not really a direction of up. It's a lighter density, and we know that dense in this, like in this earth, in this plane that we live in, density controls, right? So there's like hydrogen and helium, and then there's like other types of noble gases, right down to the clouds and the rain and the fog, and then the trees and the grass, and then it gets denser into the soil, and then more dense into the rock. And we know that lighter things fall when things that are lighter than their surrounding medium fall. And then, so a feather will fall through the air and land on the water because it is more dense. So that's why we say up there when we are referring to a spiritual thing. Because a spiritual thing, an etherical thing, will rest on a physical thing. Right? Just like a cloud will rest on the layers of our atmosphere. So we gotta complete that maxim, that saying, as above, not really above, if you even want to say it, it's more inward, so below. So as above, so below, but also as below, so above. That's the whole thing. And that means that what's happening up there is also happening down here. But what we choose to do down here affects what happens on the higher realms, on the higher levels, on the less dense levels. So absolutely yes, we can affect the light body. We can affect our next lives. And our larger self, our aura self, that's the one that really dictates. That's the one that really moves us through. Like, it looks like a wheel on its side, right? This toroid field that I'm showing here. It looks like a wheel that's on its side. If you were to like rotate this figure, this aura field, it would look exactly like big fat motorcycle wheels, right? So this is like curling. This is like the game of curling when you have different auras, different energies, and you are throwing them into the circle, into time. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the game curling, but curling, you're basically throwing these marbles, these big toroidal fields, into a cycle. It's curling is symbolic of man falling, of men and women, human consciousness falling into physicality, and that's why in curling they're using stones, okay? Because like we said, you're set in stone. It's been set and sealed. You know, your life has been written. It has been written. Written in what? Stone. You see this shape? How it looks like that toroidal field that we were just looking at? Look at that shape closely. And then now look at this toroidal field. See how it's bulgy and wide and flat at the top? Go back over to the curling. Bulgy, wide, flat at the top. And they are throwing you into a cycle, into a calendar, into that Mayan wheel. So it's coming from an outside state and being thrown in, dropped into time, into that bullseye, into that toroid, into that tornado. All games are symbolic. Nets and different sides and halfway lines and scrimmages. It's all a spiritual concept. So the next time you think that your soul or something etherical above you or whatever, like above and around you, is dictating your life and your actions and you're blaming other things, just realize that you also, the way you react will have an effect on your etherical body just as much as it has on your physical body. Okay? When you hurt physically, it cuts your body, it damages your body. But when you hurt emotionally, it damages your aura, it damages your light body. Okay? And you take these pains with you. And we're here to work these pains out so that we don't keep on carrying around this baggage. Like these are like little knapsacks, little bags that are weighing us down. And we need to empty out the bag so we can ascend higher or more inward, because it's too clunky. These bags are too clunky to condense inward any further before they'll start touching. So you got to reduce the bag. The more you can reduce that baggage, these spheres, the larger your Merkaba field can get, because there's not as much of these anchors getting in the way of the light, of the prism, weighing you down heavily so that you can't evolve. Alright, y'all, this has been another morning show, I guess you could call it. That's what it's been turning into, a morning show. Happy Monday to everybody out there. And maybe we will, drop a comment if you would like me to talk more about this. But I think I've said a lot of things about how our light bodies can affect our physical, and our physical can affect the light, and that's why you gotta cleanse. You gotta get the light inside your body, penetrating your cells. Keep on trying new things so that you can keep expanding your cells and keep your cellular growth strong. Keep it healthy for the next life. What you do now affects your next experience, whenever, wherever, whatever that might be. Alright, y'all. I will see you on Wednesday morning. And just remember, if you have any grudges, let them go. It's only affecting you. If you're afraid of something, face it. If you have something new to try, do it. Alright, y'all? I'm going to catch y'all later on the next stream. Wednesday probably. If not, Friday. Alright, peace.